Often we hear the term Mount Rushmore thrown about when it comes to MMA fighters. So I sat back and I thought one day, no one's ever really gone through every single weight division that has been in the UFC and actually thought about who should be on the Mount Rushmore. So when's a better time to start than now? We're going to start with the flyweights, the men's flyweights to be more specific. And we're going to look at the best 4 fighters in UFC history at 125. And I'm not doing this by myself. I'm here with a very, very special guest. Sit back, relax. This Sanderson Show. Let's get into it. Hello, lovely people. I did say I have a special guest, and I wasn't lying. I'm here with the one, the only Leo Cooper MMA, who's got a fantastic YouTube channel, one of the best storytellers out there, and he's joining us on the very first show. Leo, how are you doing, my bro?
I'm good, man. I feel like the first thing I got to say is I love that intro. I gotta get one of those for my own sort of content.
I'm trying to be like you, bro.
Nah.
I'm trying to hit your levels. Nah, honestly, man, I've not spoken to you that long, but you are such a humble guy, and honestly, the stuff you're doing on your channel, and I know you started a new channel as well with a friend of yours as well. The links to both of those channels will be in the description, guys. Honestly, as a storyteller, your editing, the way you narrate, everything about it, man, you're doing phenomenal things. So keep doing what you're doing, and I'm no doubt your other channel will take off as well, and you'll be doing great stuff, man. But we are here to speak about greatness as well. We're here to speak about the 125ers and who should be on the Mount Rushmore. The term Mount Rushmore is thrown around so much. We're both from the UK, so we don't have a Mount Rushmore in the UK as such, but we know the term so much because it's thrown about in every single sport. And we're going to start with the 125ers, a weight class that Dana White at one stage wanted to get rid of because he was butting heads with Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson. Henry Cejudo came along, saved the division, and since then it's been one of the better divisions to watch. Some great fights. You think of the pandemic era when we had Brandon Moreno versus Figueiredo won, and you think of some of the fights that Pantoja's been in. You had Royval and Tyra recently. The 125-pound division, though. If I was to say to you the first name that should be on the Mount Rushmore, I think we're both going to say the same name, but who would you say it should be and why?
Yeah, I think we're both in clear agreement because I think the first name on that list is the most obvious one. But I feel like I have to say, for the first division to pick, I'd say the 125-pound division is the hardest one to choose from. And that's more so from a point of it being over a long period of time quite shallow. And I don't mean that in a harsh way, because I think we've seen a sort of flyweight renaissance, as you sort of mentioned, within COVID. And then beyond that, we've seen the sort of division rejuvenate itself or been revived in some capacity. And I think, obviously, the first name we got to talk is Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson. There's no other man. And, you know, some people would argue he's the greatest fighter of all time. I would definitely put myself in that bracket because when you look at the idea, for me anyway, obviously everyone has their own metrics, but the idea of being a champion and being the pound for pound number one, being the greatest of all time, it goes beyond just what you do in the cage. I think it's how you represent yourself as a person, as a fighter, as a role model, and of course the skills to go along with it. And I think Mighty Mouse encompasses all of those better than probably anyone in the sport. So for me, he's not just my on the Mount Rushmore of flyweight. He's also the greatest fighter of all time. But yeah, he's phenomenal. I mean, I look back at, I feel like the fight everyone talks about is either that first Cejudo performance with that beautiful sort of knee and elbow finish, or of course the suplex armbar against Ray Borg. I mean, we won't ever see anything like that again in MMA, I don't think. And it's one of those moves. And this is what always surprised me, because flyweight was a division that probably doesn't attract the most viewers. And it's so surprising because the lower you go down the weight class, the more skill ceiling, exactly. The skill ceiling and the level these guys fight at is so much higher than anywhere else. And Demetrious Johnson personifies that to an absolute T.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I'm quite biased to this one because I'm DJ's my goat as well. He's my favorite fighter of all time. I just, as you said, he represents himself so well outside the cage. I'm also liking the way he's starting to get his flowers now, in the sense of he started his podcast, and it's arguably one of, if not the biggest MMA podcasts out there. He gets the best guests.
Oh, he's
the way he breaks down his shows as well. Like, he does the mighty recap, which no one else was doing beforehand as well. It'd just be the interview and that would be it. His mind for mixed martial arts and for fighting is truly special. And what he did in that flyweight division, you mentioned obviously the Ray Borg fight with the flying up with the suplex armbar, the first Cejudo fight. I personally think he won the second Cejudo fight. I think he kind of got robbed there a little bit, in my opinion.
I wouldn't call it a robbery, but
yeah,
you can very much give him the case. Fight, sure, it's a close fight.
Yeah, agreed. But even fights like the John Dodson fights, where he gets dropped but he still recovers and he deals with him. And a lot of people forgetting that John Dodson fight towards the end, he almost jumps up on John Dodson's like chest and he's elbowing him while he's standing as well, and just little nuances like that. You just don't see that. The speed, the way he put fights together, the Benavidez knockout in the second fight. He's just a special fight. Defended his belt more than any other flyweight has as well, and
11 times, I believe,
just
in the UFC.
Phenomenal.
I think it's interesting we say that, because obviously we are talking about the UFC, but something that's not, I still don't think is probably given enough respect, and not just for Mighty Mouse, but for all fighters. It's the longevity, right? So being able to go to one championship after he was traded for Ben Askren and do what he did there. And obviously he got finished in one championship. And I always say in my videos, I make a good point of it. There's one thing being able to win and keep doing it. There's another thing, another challenge entirely, to lose brutally like that via knockout for the first time in his career, especially at that late stage, and then come back and avenge that loss in a way that he did it. And that knockout of Moraes, where he times that knee, is honestly it might be my favorite finish in, if we're talking about skill set wise, it might be my favorite finish in MMA, I think. Just because the way he waits for that knee.
He just measures him, doesn't he? He's just almost walking him down like that, just measuring him, and then bam.
There's something about it. Yeah, it almost looks too easy, but he makes it look that way. Mighty Mouse is just skills personified. It's at the highest level more than anyone else. Again, I think you said it as well. I just don't think there's a fighter, skill wise, just at his level. Then I don't know if there ever will be. I mean, I'm sure someone will surpass him eventually. That's just how the nature of the beast is. But phenomenal fighter, and without a doubt, the first pick. And you said we'll do these off the rip without any notes, and I wouldn't need them anyway.
Not for DJ.
First on the list. Yeah, not for DJ.
Facts. Okay, so we're both in agreement. DJ's the first name on the Mount Rushmore. Who is your second name and why?
It's a tough one, because I think for a long time we never saw anyone come close to rivaling Mighty Mouse's legacy at flyweight, and we still haven't in the grand scheme of things. But someone we can definitely put as a sort of solid second position is the man who currently holds the belt right now. In my opinion, at this point, he's cemented that status. Alexandre Pantoja, I believe is it 3 title defenses now? 3 or 4?
Yeah, so 3. He won it against Brandon, defended against Roy Val, defended it against
Asakura was the last one, but there was one before that.
There was one before.
I'm drawing a blank.
Oh, there was. Let me just have
I'm drawing the blanks as well.
There was definitely one before that.
Oh man, I should know this. This is not good.
Yes, both of us. It's making both of us. Or is it just 2 he's got?
No, he's got 3. He's 100% got 3.
All right, so Urseg in Brazil.
Oh, of course. That is an underrated win. Yeah, I know Urseg's been on a skid, but
some people had Urseg win that fight.
Yeah, close fight. I mean, I hate to use the word robbery, unless, for me, a fight can be close. But the metric I use for robbery is if the scorecards are usually pretty clear. If you can clearly score the rounds and it goes the other way, then that counts as a robbery.
Like Pearson and Diego Sanchez, for example.
Good shout. I mean, mine would have been Jones Reyes, personally.
No, that one's there as well. That one's absolutely there.
That one sticks out for me. But obviously, going back to Pantoja, I think getting 3 tight defenses is, an achievement in itself. But again, what I said about Mighty Mouse applies. It's the longevity. He's doing this at the back end of his career. The guy's 34 years of age, and in a division where the age drop-off is the most harsh out of any of the men's divisions, because as you get older, the first thing you lose is your reaction time and your speed. And those 2 qualities are the most important at flyweight compared to anywhere else. And the fact he is at the back end of his career, at 34 and doing what he's doing now. And he's, in a lot of ways, he's looking better. He looked better in his last fight than he's ever looked before. And that is a testament to his skill set and his work ethic. And yeah, phenomenal. And he's just a dog. I know people use that term a lot as well, just like robbery, but it's true, man. He finds a way to win, and that is a skill in itself. Yeah, big fan of his. He really won me over. I was a bit conflicted because I did want Moreno to beat him in that fight to almost sort of get that revenge almost. And I'm a big Brandon Moreno fan, and his name may or may not come up later deciding what I pick. But I mean, he won me over with that Royval performance, and then of course the Usyk fight, and I mean that Sakura submission. It was just like another day at the office for him at that point. Phenomenal. Easy. Yeah, easy.
Completely. I just want to read off some of the names for everyone watching, because even though he didn't get the belt until he beat Brandon Moreno, and that was actually a split decision victory. Manel Kate, Brandon Royval, Alex Perez, then Moreno, who wins the belt from, beats Royval again, Usyk, Asakura. Before that, Schnell, Wilson Heiss, like Brandon Moreno
crazy
again
resume.
Before that. It's Kai Kara France. Obviously, that's an exhibition, but again, on the Ultimate Fighter, he still beats him. The guy is really special. I don't know who beats him. Unless Davison Figueiredo looks to go back down, which I don't think he will.
Nah, no way.
I don't know who beats him right now. And I'm in total agreement. He would be my second name on the Mount Rushmore as well.
I mean, I think someone will. I actually didn't think he would keep the belt much longer than he has because of his age. That was my prediction after his first title defense. I thought maybe Usyk would pip him because of the age difference and where they were at in their careers. But he keeps proving me wrong, and he's won me over. And I don't know who he's going to be fighting in his next outing. I don't think he's got a fight scheduled or planned in or anything like
France
that.
Is the rumor.
Kai France is really in his ascendancy right now. That's a tough fight. I think that's probably his toughest fight in the division you can make right now. And obviously, as you said, he has beaten him. But I always look back to the quote Michael Bisping said when he fought Rockhold for the second time. He said, "No two fights are the same."
Yes.
And that very much proved to be the case that night at 199 and could be the same come that rematch with Kai France. But that remains to be seen. At the moment, even if he does lose the belt, he's firmly already established his position in this Mount Rushmore for sure. So
absolutely. Okay, this is where it starts to get tricky, in my opinion. Who would be your third name?
It's so tough, isn't it? I feel like it's between. There's no order, is there? There isn't necessarily ranking, is there? Okay, well that's fine, because I feel like I've got my two names locked in, and they are, of course, one of them I mentioned briefly earlier, and the other you did as well. Two men who have really just intertwined their legacies with one another. I believe they're the only men who have a quadrilogy in the UFC, and I could be wrong there. But the first one, I'll say Brandon Moreno. He deserves mention just for longevity, resume, and is he a two or three-time champion? Two, right?
2 times.
I believe it's 2.
Biggie the first time, then lost the third fight, and then
he won it back. The interim champion as well, to be fair.
Yeah,
France as well.
Beautiful body.
What a finish. Yeah. Oh, that's one of my favorite finishes as well.
Yeah.
We don't see enough of those.
No, we don't.
Yeah, I mean, crazy. And, a lot of people were quick to use the term washed. And again, that's another one that's just overplayed, especially in today's
fraud checked and washed.
Fraud checked and washed. I'm getting tired of it, man.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it for sure. But people were quick to use that when he fought. No, it wasn't Albazi. Who was it he fought before that? He lost to.
He lost Royval and then took
Royval. That's it, Royval. Yeah, he looked very much off the pace against Royval.
Yeah, he did.
And there was a lot of washed allegations. Burnt out is a perfectly fair argument. But also, I understand why people were quick to jump the gun because, again, the age difference. Brandon Moreno's no spring chicken either. Yeah. But that last performance against Albazi was just a straight up reminder that he's going nowhere. Yeah. He is going nowhere. And, there's a very realistic possibility that if we're talking about Kai Kara France, if he wins the belt against Pantoja,
that's the first.
That sets up a nice fight again with Moreno. There's the backstory, there's the history, and I think both fighters have leveled up in many ways since their last outing. So I'm all for that. But if we're talking about legacy, because of course we're talking about the Mount Rushmore, so we're looking at what they've done in the past. I mean, his title fights are some of my favorite in history. I think him winning the belt against Figueiredo is one of my favorite moments. It brings out the emotions a little bit.
The first time you're talking about
the second fight when he won the belt.
I was when he won it the first time. Yeah.
Yes. First time he won the belt, second time he fought Moreno.
That was emotional, man.
Yeah. But equally, I think the first fight in the Apex is one of my favorite fights. There were so many good fights that year, and that was in my top 3. I think I believe Dan Hooker, Dustin Poirier was that same year. For me, that was never going to lose.
That was insane.
But very close second. I think a lot of people were writing off Moreno in that fight because of his resume and the fact he'd been cut from the UFC before. And that's another thing we haven't even talked about is, you know, showing that resolve to get cut and come back, promise that you're going to become a champion to the world and then go out and do it. And, you know, there's something to be said about that. And a lot of people in that title fight, I believe it was, I want to say it was UFC 250. I'm testing my knowledge there. I believe it was around there. But he you know, a lot of people were writing him off completely because of what Figueiredo had done. And he was a sort of new age flyweight with knockout power. I mean, realistically, he's a bantamweight, as we've gone on to see. But weight bully.
Benavidez. Not just, remember, they both took that fight, I think it was on 2 weeks as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Crazy. I mean, what performance from both men as well, I feel like I have to reiterate. And, you know, Figueiredo was regarded as this sort of new age flyweight at the time. And God of War is a nickname, you know, most fitting. I mean, let's be honest. He was destroying people. And I mean, he had Pantoja. He beat Pantoja, did he not? Yeah. I mean, he knocked him down once or twice as well in that fight. And, you know, Moreno proved everyone wrong and took it to a draw. And then, of course, took the belt in the rematch. I mean, I of course say your 2 cents, but I felt like I was going to naturally segue into Figueiredo as well, being my fourth position.
I'm with you. Brandon Moreno for me has to be on there as well. The fact that he is a 2-time champion as well, the fact that he's fought through so much adversity, as you said, even every fight he's in as well, just a banger. Even the Kai Kara France fight, he was losing that fight up until he wasn't. You land a body kick like that on the liver, you just shuts the body off. And he's someone who fights everyone as well. I know, again, you mentioned the Brandon Royval fight. Royval's, he's a stud as well, though, isn't he? I think everyone forgets how good Royval is because he hasn't won the belt yet. But Moreno beat him the first time round as well. So for me, Moreno's on there. I've got a slightly different person to you for number 4, but I do want to hear your argument for Figueiredo.
Interesting. I'm trying to think of what name you would chuck in there because I'm worried I might be forgetting someone obvious.
All right, so I'm going to do a couple honorable mentions, and I'll tell you who my 4th is. So I've got John Lineker as an honorable mention.
Yeah,
I think he was a monster in that division until he stopped making weight, because that was the fight everyone was looking forward to, was Lineker and DJ at one point, but couldn't keep on making the weight. John Dodson, I think, gave Demetrious maybe his hardest fights before Henry Cejudo.
He was on my outside picks,
Yeah, so quick. Beat TJ Dillashaw as well, which a lot of people forget. Ian McCall, things would have been so different if Ian McCall had got that victory over DJ.
I know. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm confused. I'm trying to think of who you would put at your 4th. I mean, I feel like the only name.
Oh, am I back?
See, oh yeah. So I thought you could still hear me. I thought you.
I think Joseph Benavidez, I think, is another name. I think he's got to get massive praise. He was part of the flyweights that helped build the division as well. And then the person I've got, obviously Figueiredo as well.
Can I give you a guess? Can I? Yeah, you were gonna say Henry Cejudo. Okay, I was thinking that. I don't know. I feel like. I mean, it's definitely a fair argument.
I think he took the throne off DJ again. Close fight. I had DJ winning 3 rounds to 2, but I can understand an argument for 3 rounds to 2 for Henry. Defended against TJ, who was on all the stuff you could take to enhance your performance. Built Wilson Rice, beat a couple other top fighters as well. I think Henry's got to be in there. Plus, he went up and achieved.
I think that's why he's not in there for me, because I feel like his.
Okay.
I wouldn't say like the main part of his legacy, but you know, I feel like his legacy is a sum of its parts, and half of that includes his bantamweight legacy rather than just the flyweight. And that's why I feel like Figueiredo pips him, just because also you understand Figgy was also a 2-time champion as well. It's hard. It is close. Cejudo would 100% be on my 5th spot for sure. I don't think there's any debate there. But Figueiredo, I mean, for what he did, I think just that quadrilogy with Moreno alone is just, it added so much to the sport. And I think in a lot of ways it did save the flyweight division. So both men in a lot of ways deserve some credit for that. Whether that, you know, gives some extra boost to his position on the Mount Rushmore, I'm not sure. But if we're talking about how he fights, it definitely does. I mean, the guy is a demon. I mean, as I said, he really is a bantamweight. Let's be real. And that shows it, because the power remained very much so when he was able to make that weight cut well. You know, the times he looked really unstoppable. I mean, I think back a performance that's still underrated is that submission over Alex Perez, a guy who's pretty damn durable. Yeah, I mean, like, it was a guillotine, wasn't it? Beautiful.
Yeah,
So good. And of course, as I said, knocking down Pantoja and beating him, that win has aged far better than most. And of course, as I said, his wars with Moreno back and forth and I think a lot of people were probably counting him out in that trilogy fight because of the sort of trajectory both men were on to an extent. And you know, he proved everyone wrong and beat him there. And of course, I know he lost the fourth fight, but it just shows you how high level both of those guys are. And of course, I don't want to use the argument about going up to bantamweight because I said the opposite for Cejudo. But, you know, he's gone and done great things there too. It just proves the skill set it transfers. He's unbelievable. But I think you can definitely make a fair argument for Cejudo for sure. I mean, they're both, all of these guys are phenomenal athletes. I think it's actually quite nice we don't have to rank them almost in a lot of ways because I don't know if I could do that.
Well,
I'm not sure.
I'm gonna throw in a little curveball here. We're gonna rank them.
Okay.
We're gonna rank them. So we're gonna set stall here. So we've got DJ, we've got Moreno, we've got Pantoja, and we've got Figueiredo. So those are the four. Cejudo just misses out.
Okay. I mean, I feel like first two are easy.
Number one's easy. DJ.
Yeah. I think Pantoja easily second as well.
I agree.
Yeah, it's just a matter of those last two because they're so back and forth, isn't it?
They are.
I mean, I guess at that point you have to go by
the head-to-head.
I mean, head-to-head, Figueiredo's done more. You know, he's a two-time champion, and he also did defend, which Moreno's never done. But then again, actually, well, technically Moreno has, if you want to classify the unification, because he was an interim champ.
Yeah, and he also beat Figueiredo twice. Figueiredo's only beaten him once. The first one was
a draw. Good point. It was a draw. That's a fair shout. Oof. I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna have to go Figueiredo, and I love Moreno. I prefer Moreno, but I feel like Figgy has to pip him. The more I think about it, yeah, I'm gonna go with Davison for sure at third. I think that's no shame in either option, to be honest with you, but I like Figgy in third.
I hear it. I think that's a fantastic list, man. Fantastic list. I think I love doing shows like this because it actually does bring you a little bit back down memory lane when you think of some of the fantastic fights. If I was to say out of Pantoja, Figueiredo, and Moreno, who do you think would be the toughest fight for a prime Mighty Mouse? Who would it be and why?
Pantoja, Moreno, or Figueiredo? I think Figueiredo, just because of the power. I think the one thing about flyweight is that there is a lack of that, right? And that's where the lack of appeal comes into it to the mainstream sort of viewership. Figueiredo very much goes against that grain entirely and is a big threat. It would be a huge threat for Mighty Mouse for sure. I mean, you could definitely make the argument for the grappling and submission game of Pantoja. I feel like Mighty Mouse is cerebral enough on the mat to handle that. And the thing is about knockout power, it's so innate. I actually said this on yesterday when we were recording our podcast. I said there's such an advantage to having either an opportunistic submission game and or knockout power, because even if you're technically outmatched, you can end the fight at any moment. And I feel like a guy like Figueiredo, you know, personifies that to a T with regards to the power. So that would probably be my answer. I think it's a fair shout. Mighty Mouse never really faced someone with that level of power. I mean, there's maybe a couple of arguments you can make, but no one close to that level.
Yeah,
I think
Dodson's probably the only one that.
I mean, I was going to say Dodson, but not close.
Moreno, he did fight Moreno in one, but again, it doesn't, as you said, it doesn't get the credit it deserves. But they were fighting at bantamweight as well, to be fair.
True, good point.
It's a tough one, but yeah, I'd probably go Pantoja. I fully understand what you're saying. I just Pantoja, because he's so hard to keep down. And he looks like someone who's so hard to knock out as well. So it'd be a war of attrition. It'd be a war of attrition.
I mean, Pantoja, that's the thing about Pantoja. You're right, it's war of attrition, because I said that about all of his fights.
Yeah.
Because he's the type of guy, and it's a skill in itself to be able to take your opponent to your level and where you want it. And Pantoja drags everybody he fights, you know, into these grueling back and forths, which is why he succeeds over people who might be more technical than him, because he can take them there, drag them down, drain their energy entirely until, you know, they're dragged into that sort of back and forth, which is exactly where Pantoja thrives. So that's a good argument for sure, actually, because, you know, DJ's, as we said earlier, he is the most technically gifted fighter probably the UFC's ever seen, 100%. And maybe even the whole sport. Maybe I don't think that's even hyperbolic to say. So if Pantoja was able to take it to that level and remove some of the technical advantages that DJ has, then we're in for an interesting fight for sure.
We are indeed. Leo, it's the first time you've been on the channel, and honestly, I reached out to you on a whim because you commented on a video that I was in with Luke Tanner and Jamie Phillips. And when I first saw your name pop up, I'll be honest, I checked to see if it was a fake because I didn't expect to see the chat. And I was like,
I'm not that
Leo.
big time, man. I'm just a guy, bro.
And I was like, I reached out to you, and you've been nothing but graceful and gracious with your time and just humble as anything, man. I wish you nothing but the best for the future. Before I do let you go, please do tell the people where they can find you and support you as well, please, bro.
Leo Cooper MMA, all platforms pretty much. YouTube is my home. That's where I'm at 99% of the time. It's where I post 99% of my content. So that's the place to be. Leo Cooper MMA. We're pivoting content, long form documentaries now, once a month, maybe quicker than that. I'm not sure, but a big Volkanovski video coming out within a week or two, which I'm very, very proud of and very, very excited to show the world. So you can check that out at Leo Cooper MMA on YouTube.
Super, super, super. People, that is the first in the series of the MMA Mount Rushmore. We've checked out, the flyweight division. Let us know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with what me and Leo said. Until we see you again, thank you all for watching and listening. This has been the Sanderson Show. Take care, everyone. Speak soon.